I typed it right.
It's like I don't have a password. New customer, create new account.
Yeah.
You guys are on the recording now.
Yep.
Well, they can't all know my alias. I only got like 6 of them. I can't come up with 6 more. It's too much.
And we are live. Welcome to Triple T number 24, June 14th, 2022. Holy cow. Can't believe we've made it to 24. My name is TJ Zebill. I will be the conductor for this ride. Feel free to put your hands out the window and you don't have to fasten your seatbelts. We have lots of fun here. I call myself a professional problem solver. And if this is your first time joining us or first time you've seen the recording, please make sure you press the subscribe button and ring the little bell so that you know when we got more of these fun things coming up. We do this every Tuesday night, 6 p.m. Central. And all sorts of interesting stuff this week. But before we get there, did you ladies have any ahas, epiphanies, or stuff from the last week or this week that passed by that you'd like to share before we get into the meat and gravy? Yeah, somebody was like, meat and gravy? That's right, it's a buffet.
I didn't know if you were Polly. Sorry.
What's that?
I didn't know if Polly was going to say something. No, I'm diving down the rabbit hole of Dolores Cannon. That's how we say her name, right? Dolores Cannon. Yeah. Anybody? Anybody else?
Yep. Uh-huh.
I can't make a sentence.
Oh
my God.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, yeah, so I feel like talking about that one.
Yeah, go ahead and share some of that stuff for people that have no idea who Dolores Cannon is or what she's
wildly fascinating amounts of information, and reminds me very similar of Abraham Hicks and the other one that's slipping my name right now. I can't think of it. No, we could be here for hours. A very long time.
Hello, Francine. Coming to us all the way from down under. Well, Francine, did you have anything you wanted to share from the last week since we talked last? Ahas, epiphanies, takeaways?
I have to say, I've had a bit of a bad week. I occasionally struggle with the brain injury and PTSD, and had a lot of flashbacks, and just turned around the corner like last night. I'm still a bit wobbly. But I'm turning around much faster, and I'm getting slowly more resilient. Yeah, it just takes time.
Can I remind you of a little something?
Go ahead.
The fact that we're having this conversation right now I know it's June 15th where you are, June 14th here, but I want you to remind you that the fact that we're talking this very second means that you have survived 100% of everything that has ever happened to you. There is not one single thing from your past that you are not stronger than. So no, even the flashbacks that show up, that's like watching an old movie and going, oh yeah, no, I made it through that. That's like looking at old pictures of, like when people get into a car crash and they take pictures of the car. And you can either choose to look at the crumpled up car and go, oh my God, I could have died. Or you could look at it and go, wow, I survived that. I could have died, but I didn't. And I'm here.
Yeah, it's nice that I can do that. Actually, I can't always, but I'm starting to be able to do that.
Yep.
And it's like living with a 2-year-old inside, you know what I mean? That
Yep.
you're actually starting to see the reactions, and you're working on taking steps, and sometimes you manage and sometimes you don't.
Yep.
However, that's such a big difference from where I didn't know what was happening. Like I was in the dark before. Now I actually can see what's happening, which is not all the time, but yeah, I'm starting to see, and that's such a growth thing. It's just I'm actually getting goosebumps. It's very interesting.
Good.
It's a huge step versus I just think that prior to meeting you in Sydney, I wasn't even able to get out of the house. I wasn't able to do anything. I was just cocooned up, and I was getting triggered while being cocooned up. This is now I'm doing stuff, and I get triggered, yeah, but I'm doing stuff.
Good.
Yeah. So I think, yeah, it's hard, but not doing anything is even harder.
Yes.
So I'm choosing the good hard.
Lenora?
Francine, I was just curious if you write anything down, like your progress. I don't know if it's too personal to say on a recording, but being able to write down what you did may help reinforce how far you've really come. And it's incredible to know you and hear about your story and hear all the awesome things you do every week. And sometimes it's easier for us to see it on the outside than you on the inside. So I didn't know if you had written it down to remind yourself how incredible you are.
I don't like to write.
Okay.
I do write my goals down. I struggled writing and reading for a long time, and I have to be careful on how much I do it. So I just, at the moment, just focus on trying to write all my goals down, and then once that's done, it's something about it that's kind of a deep trigger. I'm not too sure why. Maybe because of the head injury.
No, completely. Yeah.
But yeah, reading and writing has become.
What about another thing? Maybe like a video blog, so that you can see you.
I like that. Yeah,
and it's just for you. Yeah. You're doing great though.
I've got a question for you, Francine. Instead of writing full words, do you ever do like pictograms or hieroglyphics or whatever? Just sometimes when you want to write down what you feel, sometimes it's easier to just write a quick picture of it.
When I was really unwell, I did some drawings, and it really did help a lot.
Good.
On how I feel. They're ugly drawings.
Well, and the other thing that I like about how you said that, when I was.
Yes. Well, I'm much better.
Yes,
you know
you
what
are.
I mean? There's no comparison. I was incredibly unwell. I nearly did a few stupid things. You know what I mean? However, I'm not there anymore. I'm probably the most me that I've ever been.
Well, we like who you are.
yeah, it's been a long journey, and there's still a long journey ahead. And you know what? I suppose it's going to be until the end of this life, and that's good, you know. I know
Cool.
that's going to be, and I'm sure it's still far ahead. So I've still got a lot of years to do as
Good.
many things as I possibly can.
Need you around. So we want you around. You stick around.
Yes.
Thank you for sharing that, by the way. Appreciate that.
You're very welcome.
Anybody else? Or are we ready to dive into the adventure that is inside of the squirrels of my environment? Came across or came up with a couple of different things for this week. Speed of trust, surprise special, and lies children believe. And Speed of Trust, book by Stephen R. Covey. If you haven't read it, I highly recommend you do. He boils it down so well, especially in regards to business. When trust is high, business goes very fast. When trust is low, that's when you got to get the lawyers involved and all the right paperwork and all the other stuff and all the things that, no offense to any lawyers that are watching this, but y'all kind of mess stuff up. And, you know, even before, for those of us that were able to travel on planes before 9/11, check-in time, you could show up, what, half hour before, 15 minutes before, walk up, and you're on the plane. Now you got to show up 3 hours before. You got to do the Macarena dance to make sure that you don't have anything that you got to, and shoes off because some idiot stick watched too many shows of the Roadrunner and decided to put a shoe bomb. One person, and now everybody's got to take their shoes off. I remember right after 9/11, one of my good friends had his brand new pack of Mach 3 razor blade refills confiscated. Oh, can't take those on the plane. He's like, what am I going to do? Threaten the pilot with a close shave? I mean, come on, really? Nope. Even I had went through and I'd forgotten in my jacket a pocket knife that long. It was a tiny, tiny one that my grandfather had given me, and I was afraid to open it because it was so old and it had not been opened for so long. And one of the new agents happened to see it, and I was not allowed to board the plane with this very dangerous item. And so they were going to confiscate it. And I'm like, no, that's not happening. There's another solution, 3 solutions to every event, situation, or problem. So, well, you could store it down. If you're flying back here to this place, you could take it down to, they'll hold it for you. I'm like, then that's going to happen. So I ran down, their time is short. And I'm holding it in my hand, literally in my hand. It is this big. It is smaller than my thumb from here up. And I'm holding it, and I'm like, there's 4 people in line. I'm like, I probably shouldn't have said this thinking back, but I said, excuse me, I've got to store my weapon of mass destruction. And the agent inside goes, oh yeah, they said you were coming down. So I come in. Now the people that I got in front of in line are wondering what I got. And he goes, they said you have a knife? And I go, yeah, my grandfather gave it to me when I was a kid. And the guy down there is like, are you kidding me? Really? I said, no, I wish I was. He goes, these new agents they're losing their mind. I said, I can't afford to lose this. He goes, don't worry, I'll take care of it for you. That I can't believe that. I went, yep. I said, it hasn't been opened in probably 20 years. I'm afraid to open it because I don't want to break it. He goes, no, I can see that this has not been used so speed of trust. But speed of trust works with a lot of things. Sometimes that trust is given through authority, through uniforms that are worn. You know, if somebody comes up to you and they're wearing a certain uniform, they can say certain things to you, and you give them a certain level of trust that you wouldn't per se somebody just random off the street. Even like with doctors can tell you certain things that if somebody in street clothes tries to tell you without any prior clarification, you're not going to believe them. One of the ways that I use this with my clients is things that have been told to them that they believed that hurt them. You know, somebody said something to them and they recorded it in a certain way because, whether it was parents or a sibling or a best friend or significant other, somebody that they gave a lot of trust to said something to them. And so they recorded it with a certain level of energy and belief. And so I go through a couple of different protocols. One of them is, well, if you were walking down a street and a drunk homeless meth head said the same thing to you, how much energy would you put into it? And if you're a drunk homeless meth head, I'm not talking about you, I'm talking about the other one. But a lot of times they're like, well, who cares? Because of the level of trust. And you can reframe that into the memories and the recordings that you have. Just because somebody said something to you doesn't make it true, even if it's your parents, your siblings, your best friend, your significant. It doesn't make it true, and it doesn't mean that you recorded it the way they meant when they said it. Now, another protocol that I use with clients is, some people say some very vile, vicious, nasty things. And that's exactly how they meant it. But that doesn't mean that's how we have to keep the recording. And so a lot of times I will ask these people, okay, I want you to pull up that recording exactly the way you recorded it. And I want you to play it back to me exactly the way you recorded it. Same volume, same voice, same everything. And a lot of people, especially my female clients, are intimidated. They're scared to do it because of what they went through when that recording was made. And I remind them, that happened one time a long time ago. No, he said it many times. I said, then it happened one time many times. But every time it happened, it only happened once. But go ahead and take the worst one, and I want you to let me hear it exactly the way you recorded it. And I've heard some of the things that came out were vile, vicious, nasty, all the above. And I will make them do it a number of times until they can get that exact recording, that level to where they are screaming the words. And I'll go, okay, that sounds more like it. Was that exactly how you heard it? Yes. And I go, what color or colors of energy were inside of that recording? And they'll tell me, and if you've listened to the recordings or stuff, we've talked about this before, where it doesn't matter what color or colors they give you, it's all the encoding. But let's say they say black. I'm like, okay, so it was black energy. Now, I want you to say the exact same thing, but this time I want you to use the voice of Goofy from Disney. And more times than not, they'll be like, what? Like, what? I'm like, well, you're just a hooker. And they're like, I don't know if I can do that. I'm like, yeah, you can. Just have fun with it. And so they'll be like, well, you're just a hooker, piece of hooker. And they'll get a little grin on their face, and I'll go, okay, so what color energy was that? Blue? Okay. Now I want you to do it in the voice of Mickey Mouse. And they're like, what? Like, you know who Mickey Mouse is. Hey, kids! I said, now say what you said, but use Mickey Mouse's voice. Well, you're just a hop. And they'll crack up a little bit, and I go, what color was that? They're like, yellow. I'm like, okay, yellow. Now I want you to do it in Minnie Mouse's voice, which is a real challenge for guys. But they're like, oh, I like do it in Minnie Mouse's voice, even higher, even squeakier. And they'll be cracking up when they're trying to say it. And I'll go, what color was the energy in that? They're like, pink. I'm like, do you realize you said the exact same words, but you giggled while you did it? It wasn't the words. It was the energy and the meaning you put to it in your recording. What if all we did was took the lessons out of that recording and then just kept the recording with the pink energy or the yellow energy or the green, anything but the black energy? What would that do for you? What would that change? And this is usually when I ask them, okay, now, what if it was a drunk, homeless meth head that said that? Well, who cares? Good. Then why don't, instead of your parents or your sibling or whatever that said it, why don't you just record it as a drunk homeless meth head who said it using Minnie Mouse's voice? That's when they crack up. I'm like, there, see? It's not the words. It's the energy and the recording that you did it, and you survived it. You've made it here. I remember saying many times as a kid, sticks and stones. Seems you all know how to mouth the exact sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me much, as long as I know how to properly record them or properly edit them. But in the end, it wasn't the words that killed me. It was the recordings. And so along with that, in the speed of trust, is trusting yourself. Especially trusting yourself. Because you're the one that you have to live with your entire life. And I've actually had clients who had forgotten how to trust themselves. They had forgotten how to trust their decision making. They had listened to outside sources that had lied to them in so many ways that they had forgotten how to trust their instincts, how to trust their gut. And they started relying on outside sources to give them answers that they had the ability to come up with on their own. They'd just forgotten how. And so a lot of them come to people like myself and a lot of you here tonight because they couldn't find witch doctor in the yellow pages. And they put a certain amount of trust in what we say. And the funny part is when I get people who have watched a few too many TV shows or a few too many stage hypnosis shows or stuff, unfortunately the level of trust in hypnosis is low. And I have to let them know that, I can't make you do anything you don't want to do. Well, what about the people that are up on stage and clucking like a chicken and da-da-da-da-da? I said, let me finish that. I can't make you do anything you don't want to do, but you'd be surprised at what people want to do. Well, why are they clucking like a chicken or something? I said, you know what? It may be that they had always wanted to be an actor or an actress. Or maybe they're just sick of following the rules. Anybody else hearing a really loud fan noise? A little posted on there. I don't know if it's me or... Really? Okay, I'm going to run a test. Can you hear it now? Then it's not out of that. There are days I love technology, and then there's the rest of the year. I've been having some issues. That probably caused pop. Is that better? There. I trusted that I had the correct setting. Now that we're talking about speed of trust. And I trust you guys, and you can trust me to be thankful when you point out issues that I'm not aware of. So, where was I? Squirrel?
Speed of trust.
Speed of trust, yes. I don't remember what page I was on.
You'd be surprised what people are wanting to do on stage.
Yeah, you'd be surprised at what people want to do. If given, the option. And part of hypnosis is bypassing the conscious mind so that the subconscious can actually talk for once. Now, people think that they're in full control, but they don't realize that the conscious mind is the youngest portion. It's kind of like that 2-year-old spoiled brat in the cereal aisle. If it doesn't get its way, it will let you know. It will scream and cry and yell until something massive is going down. And then the conscious mind is like, I'm out. Checks out, and the subconscious go, wait a minute, what's going on? Now, okay, what's screwed up? What's happening? And has to run the show for a while until the conscious mind comes back and goes, are we good? Okay, I'm taking over again. And that's where some people that go through massive trauma or stuff like that kind of black out a little bit. The conscious mind goes, too much. We're going to go offline for a little bit. Pause the recording. We'll come back when everything's good. What they don't know is the camera was still running. It just wasn't allowed for public view. And that's when sometime down the road something could happen and all of a sudden it pops back up and they're like, oh, what did that happen? I don't remember that. Conscious mind chose that it was too much at the time. We had reached DEFCON 9 and 10 as death, so just kind of takes you offline for a little bit, but the recording never stops. Anybody got any questions or input or ahas on that part? Yes, Francie.
Yeah, so it's interesting that you say that sometimes the recording comes back up. I put myself on to stop video because I was crying because I just saw something that I couldn't remember. Just to give a bit of background, I was assaulted at work and left unconscious, and then of course I woke up, etc. And what came up was the reason why I'm scared of phones, when my phone rings or when I get messages and stuff like that, is because after I got assaulted and I was at the doctor's at the hospital, I didn't know what happened to me. The only thing I got from work was, oh, can you send some pictures? And this just came through now. I've forgotten about it. And yeah, I'm a bit upset, but yeah, you wonder what's happening, and then you see that and you think, oh shit. And then my husband said, yeah, that's exactly what happened. We were at the hospital, at the doctors, and they texted you for photos of bruising. And of course, I didn't have much bruising at the time. That was just like a couple of hours after. The bruising came much later.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was just, yeah, it's kind of interesting, and that's true. You forget everything. I have very little memory. It's just slowly things are coming back together now.
One of the best parts about the pictures and the recordings like that, especially when they show up later, is the realization of what you were strong enough to make it through.
Yeah,
I've had a number of people that they didn't understand why they were having so many issues in certain parts of their life. And when we were able to bring the recordings up, even though the recordings were horrific, as soon as their subconscious and conscious mind both agreed wow, we survived. Like, holy, we survived. We went through that, and and the fact that it made you who you are today, for better or for worse, it's another ingredient and another chapter and another page in the story of you.
I think it's also important because now I know why I freak out every time my phone rings. I had to put it on mute and not having any noises for messaging and ringing because I couldn't deal with it. And
Yep.
I didn't know why. However, now I know, and now I'll be kinder with myself as well because now I know why. I know the reason behind it. So when we don't know, it's like, oh, what's wrong with you? You know, this is
Yes.
nice. Like, yeah, it makes sense. You know, why am I scared of my phone? It's kind of make a lot of sense suddenly here. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So now I'm happy to keep my phone on mute.
Super cool.
Yeah, so it's interesting. It's well, it's kind of hard, but also it also means that I'm ready for it now because otherwise my
Yes.
mind wouldn't show me, hey. And it's funny that it happens now while you're talking about it.
Yep.
But yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting.
And it's also showing that your conscious and your subconscious are both beginning to trust even more
Mm.
that not only did you survive, but you learned the lessons that you needed to protect you in the future.
Mm. I found that I've been doing some IFS work as well, which is called internal family systems. It's when you work with, it's like some kind of part work,
Mm-hmm.
and that's just been combined with everything else. It's just been fabulous for me. It's just brought me
Good.
my life back. So yeah, so I started. The first thing was going to Sydney and doing the course, and then slowly I have more and more, and it's been fantastic. I must admit, I'm bouncing back much quicker. It's it's like when you're on one of those
Roller coaster.
a roller coaster and you know you're going to go down, but you also
Yep.
know you go up. So the quicker you go down, the quicker you go up. You know
Yes.
what I mean? So it's like free fall, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I've actually used that metaphor a lot for clients with future pacing, and I let them know that they need to travel the trajectory to where they're going back and forth many, many times so that they know every twist, turn, curve, and valley that's coming up. Because to think that our life is going to be absolutely perfectly smooth, always an incline going up beautifully, no. There's part of the best part of having those dips is how sweet it is when you're back up out of that dip and getting farther up than you were before the decline started back when.
You know, my lows are much higher now than my up in years ago. So
Yep.
it's just so worth it. Of course, you still feel it.
Yeah, but
but yeah, if you let go and you just go and say, okay, now I need to sort this out. Let's just go for it. It's just so much quicker, and you come
yeah.
up much faster.
Well, like they say, but scars are the bookmarks and the presents that we got for what we went through.
Mm.
It doesn't mean that we're still feeling everything, but you can look at that. I've got more flipping scars on from the work that I've been doing that But there's a few of them that I can, and I know exactly where I got them. I remember when I got them, but they don't define who I am today. It's like, yeah, I remember when that happened. Hurt like a, and, and now it's fine. Um, we're at 39 after. Anybody got any more info or input on that before I switch gears?
I've got something really fast. Just what you were saying about trusting voices. And most of you probably know I had this experience a couple weeks ago where I was kind of all by myself. I decided to go for a walk, and there was this guy that he was in an altered state. I don't know if it was mental illness or drunk or high or whatever the case may be, but he was following me, telling me the sexual things he wanted to do to me and all that. And anyway, so the first thing that came into my mind was, what am I going to do? Oh, I'll use stop, start now. And it worked like a charm. But the thing that I learned the most about it is, so after I had walked quite a ways away, I couldn't even see him anymore. He came out of trance and he yelled across the parking lot, "You effing weirdo." And I immediately thought, oh yeah, you're following total strangers around and telling them this stuff, but I'm the weirdo. Sure. I'm like, of course I'm not. But the thing that really hit me is right after that, I'm like, that's the first time I have ever dismissed something nasty somebody said to me and trusted my own voice. And I just thought, how many other times have I fallen for this crap? So anyway, it just, yeah, right in line with what you were talking about.
Yeah. And the not only that, trusting how quickly you were able to go right into stop, start now.
Yeah, in the past, I think I would have completely crumbled, and no, I was able to get completely into state and turn around, and I wasn't even afraid because like I just knew he was going to respond. I knew I was in control even though he was trying to make me scared.
Atta girl, proud of you. Yeehaw. And I'm going to use that as the segue into, I'm going to pass the surprise special till later and go right into lies children believe. And that came out of a session that I did today, where the client of mine has been having self-sabotage in business and stuff like that, and limiting beliefs and stuff. And when we went in and did the work, most of it came when he was 8 years old. 5 years old and 8 years old. Physically, verbally abused. And one of the lies that he believed, well, most of them were things that were said to him by his stepdad. But one of the other ones was regarding money that he told himself. And ironically, it was in the form of when we started talking business, all of a sudden he's like, my hand itches. And I go, what's that energy in your hand? Put him in trance, and he looked at it and he goes, it's green. Like, okay, how old is the green energy there? 5 came up. Said, is the energy 5 years old, or were you 5 years old when it showed up? Because I was 5. What was happening when you were 5? I was selling drawings I made for a penny a piece. And what happened? Nobody would pay me, and so I told myself that I'm just dumb and I can't make money. Lies children believe. whether they were told by outside sources or ourselves. And how many of us, including myself, I know I've done it. Something happens and you say something to yourself, and in one part, you know it's BS. And yet on the other side, it goes, must be right. Especially if we've said it. Especially if we've said it. That's why I'm so adamant about when people do derogatory self-talk. And those of you that know me well enough, I call people out on it all the time. Did you just say that? Guess so. Did you just say that? Yep. All right, stop saying that. Because again, we have to live with ourselves our entire life. And if you can't trust yourself, or if you're going to say things that aren't empowering about yourself, you're going to believe them. And the more you say it, the more you believe it. The more you believe it, the harder it is for somebody on the outside to change your mind. Because who are you going to trust more than you? Unless it feeds into the narrative that you've already told yourself. Now, if you said to yourself a number of times, oh, I'm just stupid, and then a close friend or a family member or something goes, man, you're stupid, even if they're joking, it enforced that joke that you told yourself. Unfortunately, what we're finding out is the conscious and the subconscious don't hear the humor in it. They read it like subtext and take it down as factual. Then after you imprint that on your wallpaper long enough, it gets big enough where you see this big thing that looks like it must be real. I am stupid. Even though I have a college degree and I'm really good at what I do, but I'm really good at what I do just because it's easy, even though I'm the only one in my department that knows how to do it as good as I do. Then I have to come in and have to break down all the little foundations and all the work that it took to build up that lie. And hopefully there's enough people around to reinforce it and catch you when that lie comes out. That's also, I'm pretty sure I'll get something, somebody's going to have an issue with this, and I don't care because I'm dealing with the kids right now. Part of the problem with everybody's a winner. No, not everybody's a winner. If everybody's a winner, then there can't be losers. And if there aren't any losers, why try? I can come in last and still get a trophy. So why should I try to compete? And the human mind, the human experience needs competition. Especially with yourself. People who finally decide that I'm done, I'm just going to do whatever I can to get by. Anybody ever see anybody like that? Some of them are standing on the corner with a piece of cardboard. They don't want a job, they just want some money. Just enough to get by. And that's the importance, I think, of competition and actual winners and losers and fair competition. I experienced it when I was in martial arts because I got started a little late, and being 6'4" in Taekwondo is a nice advantage, but it's not a big enough advantage that when I went to competition twice, because of my height and my age, they put me in a bracket 2 belts up. So the guys that I was supposed to be sparring with were my size and height and had about 3 years experience on me. What happened to my desire to fight? I was like, no, winning this one wasn't important enough to me to risk getting hurt. Is what I told myself, and I believed it. So part of it is knowledge and understanding of yourself, but the other part, I think the most dangerous part, is especially in the kids, taking away the competition and leveling the playing field for everybody so it's all fair, which is the most unfair thing I think you can do to kids. And I feel that more and more because my clientele is getting younger and younger. I've had clients that are as young as 12. Full-on anxiety and low self-esteem. And sure enough, when I drill down, one, they get everything they want. There's no competition. So they think they're in competition with everybody. And it's harder for them to stand out because everybody's on the same playing field. They would much rather have their butts kicked and get 5th place so that they knew where they stood in the pecking order than to show up and have everybody get a trophy, because then they don't know the pecking order. Any comments, input, ahas on that? Or
Adding to that, what I actually have been seeing is when they get everything they want, they're getting everything but what they actually want, which is love or attention, depending on how young they are. The kids that I see outside of outside in the community, you know, they have toys galore and it's thrown completely aside. They're so, I didn't want this, I wanted it, but now what's next? Like there's an emptiness that's not being fulfilled. And really it's that they want that love and attention. That's like the huge gap that's missing that I've been seeing lately in 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. It's just my thoughts.
it also opens up the distinct possibility that I deal with a lot, a phenomenon called bread of shame. And the kids You'll see it. I saw it when I had my maintenance company taking care of college rental homes. And these kids have been given everything. They've got the brand new Beamer, the brand new Mercedes, and frickin' hate their parents, despise their parents. And when you ask them why, they're like, they're just a blah, blah, blah. I'm like, they gave you everything, didn't they? Probably never even got disciplined. You probably have never had your pants warmed up. Probably lost your absolute flippin' mind when they threatened to take away your tablet that they gave you. And that's that. And the parents are going, what? I don't understand. I gave you everything, everything you've ever asked for. Yeah, you did. And some of them just want to be disciplined. Some of them will self-sabotage just so somebody can tell them something other than you're amazing, you're fabulous, you're awesome. So they can at least feel some of the other view. And so if you know anybody that has a kid like that, we can go into that in further depth in another one. I'm running a little short on time here, but yes, research, spread of shame. And it also can interact with, I believe, in line with acquired narcissism. Um, I had a very close friend when I was young who had something happen, and the outpouring because of what happened. Actually, I've probably got 4 or 5 friends that I can list off that a traumatic life event happened when young, and the outpouring changed them and gave them such a level of acquired narcissism that after the nostalgia wore off, people couldn't stand to be around them because they had just turned into arrogant little pricks. So that's another one where when you see some of these people, I like to, I still have some knee jerk reaction like, what a freaking Richard Cranium. But because of what I do now, it makes me stop and go, I wonder what they went through. What happened? What brought this on? And if you know anything about Chinese facial reading, you can read the ears, and if you can see the ears and see what kind of childhood they may have had, look for lines on their face, whether sorrow lines or different lines, and that's a whole different rabbit hole that we could dive down for a week. But you start understanding that they're a product of their environment coming up. And for me, it helps a bit more to, to realize that they were created, they didn't create themselves. They didn't go out looking for narcissism. Something happened that made them that way. And that's on the event And it's partially on them, I believe. You know, at some point, you know, hopefully that they'll realize that, wow, people don't like me very much anymore. Maybe I should figure out why. But in true narcissistic fashion, it's always somebody else's fault anyway, so screw them. Any input, questions, ahas on that before I run out of time?
And I probably said this before, but I'll just throw this. It's that same concept of, in society, a lot of times we have the choice of hurting people or harming people. We can't, it's a bad choice. You have to do one or the other. And we as society are so worried about hurting people that we will harm them to avoid hurting them. So the question is for other people, but also for yourself. Are you willing to harm people to avoid hurting them? Or are you willing to hurt people to avoid harming them?
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned that in when you taught a couple of weeks ago, right, Holly? That was so good.
Yeah, like I said, I think I brought this up multiple times, but
I'm so glad you did, because it unfortunately got backlogged, and then you said that, and I was like, wait, she did say that, because you told us that story about the person that you were trying to help, and it just didn't work. They had things to learn, yeah, and it didn't work out for either of you. Yeah, that's awesome story. See, storytelling.
Yep. Right in that famous book that you find all over the place, Spare the Rod, Spoil the Child.
So that means I've been a bad mom.
Oh, great. Now we get, now we open up a therapy.
No, I have three children. Well, they're not children anymore. They're adults. My youngest is 23, I think. Oh, she'll be 23 in a couple of weeks. I think it's just giving them stuff on a silver platter is not a good thing. Lucky I didn't. However, I had a bit of issues with the school. But that's probably just because of me. It is hard to raise children. We need to be honest about that.
Yeah.
Especially in today's world, is that we get told so many different things, what is right for the children. And often it's really hard to find the right measures. And I must admit, I actually didn't get it too much wrong. I did do mistakes, and I learned from them, I hope. But yeah, I'm very proud of my children. I have good kids. I have very, very, actually, I'm going to even say it out loud. I have amazing children.
Good answer.
Yes, but yeah, it is hard to raise children in today's world, because there's so much. One people say, oh, you have to do this, and then the other says, oh, you have to do that, and it's like, and you think like, well, so I think the best advice for parents is follow what you feel is right. Don't listen. Listen to understand, and then make up your own what works for you, because we're all different.
Exactly. There was what was the joke? Everybody is willing to tell you how to raise your own kids, and then you look at their kids and you go, but your kids aren't my kids, and my kids aren't yours. That's like trying to tell me how to fix a Volvo because you own a Chevy. Okay, they're similar, but different parts.
Yeah. I think one of the best advice I've ever had as a young mom with my eldest, he's 35, it was, even if people give you the right advice, if you feel nervous about it, don't do it, because it's not going to work because you're nervous.
Yep.
People give you advice, do the ones you think, oh, that I like that. Do that instead. And then when you're desperate, you'll just try anything. And then you eventually will try the thing that works, and it will be the right time. Just trust it. And that was the best ever advice I had as a young mother.
Well, that's why I don't make this a talking head situation, because I've gotten more advice and given more advice in my short years than anybody should be allowed to. And yeah, some of it was amazing advice, and some of it, and I don't want to even tell myself that I have all the answers, because at that point I stopped learning. That's why I love having all of you guys here, because you collectively are all smarter than I am. That keeps me sharp, keeps me going, keeps me humble. As you've noticed, I'm very humble.
Well, I'm going to. Sorry, you keep going.
I'm not sure about being humble. I'm not humble. I don't think I'm humble. I don't think I can be humble. I'm more like a drama queen or queen. I'm a goddess. Sorry, Fran.
Fran?
Okay, I was going to ask TJ and everyone, when you come to a point in your life when what you were doing just isn't kind of cutting it anymore, and you don't quite know where you're going to go from here, what do you guys do? When you're in that sort of point of transition, I know it's a powerful point, but it feels horrible.
I've got lots of answers, but I'm going to let everybody else go first. Bueller, come on.
I'll go first. Fran, it's so funny how you'll say things, and you and I are so similar. Like you're on one trajectory, and you and I are like this, like do. What I've been saying to the universe is, I'm flying by the seat of my pants. I'm all in, and something will work out. It'll work out. Like those have been the mantras in my head. The other two are probably stronger than flying by the seat of my pants, but I get a laugh out of it. So I'm all in, and that's how I've been going.
Go ahead, Francine.
What I've been doing, I just tried things, random stuff, whatever. Oh, I'm going to try that. Oh, I'm going to try that. And that's how I, maybe I should take some pictures. I found those two couches on the side of the road. And I've recovered one with this amazing gray material, a similar color. It's the same material I used for the chairs. And wow, it just looks like $1 million. And even it's kind of, if you look at my hands, I cut myself, and I did a bit of damage. However, that thing just looks amazing. But I'm still looking. I enjoy it. Yeah, I just try. I just try different things. I've been even baking, cooking. I've done an apple pie I found an old book online from 1800s in German, and I made an apple pie from that last night to try it out. It was delicious because it disappeared. So yeah, just I suggest, if you see something that's just go for it, do it, and see how you feel. Yeah, and then asking the universe maybe for some help.
I'm loving everything that came before. I got a lot of repeats. So first of all, a couple things that come into my mind are Lillian Bridges said a couple of things about our golden path. So first of all, whenever you're on your golden path and you're at that choice point, that chance to move up to the next level or whatever it may be, a transition point in your life, know that the path that's probably the best, well, first of all, there'll be more than one path. And there's going to be one that's good enough. But if you want to become the best you could possibly be, all that you want to be, you want to pick the better path. And of course, one way you'll recognize that better path is that it's going to scare you. And it's going to scare you in a good way, that way, that anxiety that turns into excitement. Another way you'll know it, Lillian says that you will have, I think she called them styrofoam brick walls. From a distance, they look like brick walls. You have no idea how you're going to get through them to get onto your path. But if you just walk right at it, or if you want to think about it kind of like the Harry Potter and the how to get onto the platform 9 3/4, you just got to run at that wall. And when you get to it and you're ready to push it down, you're going to realize when you get there, it's completely made of styrofoam. Another way you'll know you're at that point is that also, it's not always, but often, a billion other things will come up to try to distract you, a billion other opportunities. And they're going to try to keep you the place that's safe, the place that's easy. That's another way, another sign that you're on the right path. Something else that I also love to do, and this could be kind of the flying by the seat of your pants thing, but so there's two energies, especially from the Kuji-in, that I like to tap into. One is the Kyo energy, and that's that, this is the mudra. I know we haven't really gone that much into it, but it's the I go with the flow energy. And that if I come up against obstacles, sometimes the best thing to do is not to sit there and beat up against the rock. It's just like a river would do, flow around it and just keep going. And so being open to that and saying, you know what, I trust the universe is going to send me what I need when I need it. And I'm going to keep my mind open to approach this creatively, the 3 solutions to every single problem. And then the final thing is I like to tap into my Kai energy, which is the energy of intuition. And the more you use that, the better you get to know it. But for me, so first of all, you start with the 6 dynamics of an unconscious response. Your intuition's always going to answer first. It's always going to answer honestly. It's always going to feel like you're making it up. You know the drill. If it meets those, you are in touch with your intuition. And also the other thing is when you're in that, your Shen is going to enter your body. So that Shen is going to give you excitement, but it's also going to give you that anticipation of, oh, am I really the person that's going to take that next step up? Am I really going to challenge myself? Am I really going to take the harder path? And just a quick thing too, the harder path, it's harder, but it's also easier. The easier path always ends up being the harder path too. So just a bunch of things, throwing it out there. And if you open yourself up, you will know you will be ready, and just commit to take the action and go, even if you don't know where you're going. Take the action you know you can take. And keep your mind open too, because you never know what surprising additions you might get, cool other opportunities you might get, but you just have to be open to them.
Wow. Thank you. That's so cool. TJ, what do you got?
First off, I'm glad I let you ladies go first, because then I didn't have to talk for the whole time, because y'all touched on something I was going to say, and some of the stuff that some of y'all like, wow, glad this is getting recorded. One of the things that came to mind with me, and here we go, Jordan Peterson again. By the way, Jordan, if you're listening, give me a ring. He said, if you get to a point where you don't know what to do something, do anything. The reason being is you may be halfway down the path and all of a sudden you look over and you go, I should be over there. But you would have never known that from back there. If you're on the right path, you won't be looking over going, God, I should be over there. But the transition, when you get that far, A, you'll know, and B, you'll have gained knowledge on the path that you were on. Now, those of you that know me, I've been on a few paths. This is profession 28 for me. And sometimes stuff just, when I didn't even know I was looking, showed up. And sometimes when I was looking, I found out that I was looking too hard. It's amazing what desperate energy will rob from you. When you're sitting there so concerned that you may not find what you're looking for, that energy blinds what you have. Another thing that I'm going to throw your way is I've been finding lately the amount of side hustles that are out there are now astronomically crazy out there. With the internet and people being able to share ideas, even if it's not your main path, even if you simply do 2 or 3 little side hustles for some side income, it takes that pressure off of desperation to try and figure out what you want to do.
That's really cool. And I've got another question that I hope
Please.
you guys don't mind throwing open. When you just do and you're not quite meeting your expectations, I have these wonderful ideas and I think, yes, this is the way. And sometimes I just don't perform to the level that I know I can, to the level that I expect from me. And I just feel go into an I'm not good enough phase. And it's stupid. And it's a case of, I know I just got to use that for inspiration and rocket fuel and put it together better next time. What do you guys do? Do you ever meet these points where you're just not quite meeting your goal? And what do you do?
Can I ask you a couple of quick questions? Did you do your best?
I could have done better. I did my best at the time, but it wasn't. If I had done a few things differently, I could have done it a lot better.
Well, you're answering the question 2 different ways. I did the best at the time with the tools, knowledge, and energy I had available to me. Now that I'm past it and looking back and analyzing with new tools, knowledge, and new information, I could have done better. I should have done better. The problem with that is you end up shoulding all over yourself, which leads to a shouldy life, and we don't need a shouldy life. So stop with the should have. If you're doing the best you can at the time with the tools, the knowledge, and the energy you have available to you, that's all you can do. You can't do any better. If you could have, you would have. Trust me, I've had plenty of retrospect, and I could sit there and should have myself right into a pile. And it took me a while when I got that information of, just like, you can't blame your parents after the age of 18 because they did the best they could at the time with the tools, knowledge, energy they had available to them. If they could have done better, you have to believe they would have. Even if they were crappy parents. But they let you live to 18. And for those of you that have kids and you're like, I could have done better. Did they live to be 18? You did awesome. You created a human being and you allowed it to live to the point of 18 where it now can please leave the nest, become something awesome beyond whatever happened in your childhood. Blessings upon you. Woo! And you can do the same now, Fran, every day you want to.
I think the trick for me is to turn what I didn't do that I could have done into next time. Just watch out.
Those are lessons. Yes, you always collect all the lessons that you can, regardless of where they're from. Whether it be from your experiences. I love collecting lessons from other people's experiences because it saves me time, energy, and disappointment.
Yeah, well, I have to move it into rocket fuel to looking forward to the next time and doing,
Yes.
applying the things I learned. Sorry, Holly, you got something.
Yes, please.
Oh, I was gonna say I'm gonna have to watch what TJ just said like over and over and commit it to memory. This is something I've thought about a lot myself as well, and I call it the overachiever underachiever cycle, because I think we have three modes we could be in. We have overachiever, achiever, and underachiever. And the problem is when we get into overachiever thinks that we have more resources than we really do. It thinks we have more time than we really do. It thinks we have more energy than we really do. It thinks we have maybe even more money than we really do, more self-control than we really do, more SRUs. We talked about those during the year. And so you look back on what you did and it's like, oh, I wasn't absolutely perfect. Well, guess what? I'm a human being. I actually have to eat. I actually make mistakes. I'm not omniscient, I actually have to take time off for myself to just play and have fun with my day and not be focused on my goals 24/7. That is real. And the overachiever doesn't recognize that. So the overachiever is great for giving us ambition and it gets us started. So then we get in and we feel all good and then we get going and we don't meet our expectations because they're impossible to meet, literally impossible to meet for a flawed human being to meet. So then we beat ourselves up and we say, well, why do I ever make any goals? If I just underachieve and I don't do anything, I lock myself in my room all day, I'm going to feel so good and I will never be missing out on my goals. And so I think a lot of people, they get into that mode and they shut down for a little bit, but then they start feeling like crap because they're not accomplishing anything. And so then they go back into overachiever mode and they just kind of go through the cycle. And the way to break that cycle is to go into achiever mode and say, you know what? I'm going to make goals, but I'm not going to beat myself up if I'm not perfect. As long as I'm making progress, that's the only question I'm going to ask is, did I make progress? Did I try? Did I learn something? So like you were saying, I could fail at every single thing I did. But if I learned something, that means next time I try, I got something better for the next try. And I know we try to avoid the word try, but that was a funny thing to do. But, as somebody once said, let's say you made a goal to work out for 3 hours every single day for an entire month. And you went one time and worked out for 20 minutes. Is that better than making no goal to work out and working 0 minutes? The mind will say, oh, no, the no goal was better because at least I didn't fail. But yeah, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, if you made any progress at all, congratulations, you made effort. You worked on something, you grew. You achieved.
Brilliant. Thank you, Polly.
I love the combination of tools we have going on here. Holly raised such incredible points. I love the idea of the underachiever and the overachiever. Sometimes I find that I go more with Francine with like the parts. And in the times that I have worked with TJ, he also will call out the part that happens to be being a little shit or having a tantrum or having a meltdown. And what I refer to it as is the other part or the younger part that's like having this full-blown meltdown over something like, you should have done it better. You should have been doing all of this, like you said, shitting on yourself. And then I will actually go to a different part, like my higher self, or like the goddess self, or the other more clear-minded, like, did you do the best that you could? Good enough is good enough. right now. And that's what matters, that you made progress. You took that step. You are on the path. You might not have come to the overlook that you had wanted, but you were on the trail. You were on the path. So that's how I have conversations in my head.
Got another question for you, Fran. Are you pursuing perfection or excellence?
Excellence is fine, but excellence is what I want and what I expect. And at the level of experience I have, I think I should bring a level of expertise. And sometimes I don't meet my expectations and I get so cranky with myself. And, then that kind of sets me back, and then I have to reset all my goals and my expectations. And
two things there. Excellence is fine, but when I don't exceed what my expectations were, it bothers me. My question is, what about the people in the stands?
I think that if my expectations aren't met, especially when I'm working with groups of my peers, that they will also see through my fraudulent mask and see what a rubbish job I've done.
Okay.
And maybe they don't perceive it like that, but I haven't even been able to face reviewing the video of what I did.
Yeah. I don't know if you were at what point you joined us. I started out with Speed of Trust by Stephen R. Covey, and trusting ourselves and lies children believe. And the lies that we tell ourselves are the worst poison that gets put into our bodies. Because we live with ourselves our entire life. And we're the ones that we're supposed to trust the most. And when you put out something that didn't meet or exceed your expectations and you tell yourself it's rubbish, that's the hardest part. Without feedback from those in the stands, but that's also the part where I talked about how we need competition. This everybody's a winner concept is total rubbish. You don't know where you stand. I can tell you the recordings that you've sent out that I've gotten to listen to, I don't think you even give yourself half the credit you deserve. I think that you send it out and you're like, oh my gosh, I hit a 3. This sucks. And had we not even heard you say anything like that, we're listening to it and we're going, holy cow, that's an 8 or a 9. Well, because you don't have any, I don't know if you're getting the correct feedback, or even like bands have producers come in going, no, you need more of this, you need more of that. But when the producer comes in and goes, that's it, that's one level. When the record goes out and makes 1 million sales, that's another level. A lot of the work that we do doesn't have those progressions of feedback. And so, like I say, I hear you saying, gosh, it just, I heard this or I see this, and it's the artists that I think suffer the most, because we can see when we were making it, that one little flaw right there in the lower left-hand corner. And nobody can see it until you bring out the magnifying glass and you go, well, if you take this microscope and you zoom down to this little spot, and they're like, where? What? Well, I can see it. I know I put it there by accident. And everybody else thinks it is the most amazing piece of artwork ever produced.
So how do we get past that? How do we accept ourselves as we are doing what we do, and accept
when the product is finished, you go, it's over. The product is finished. Now I get to start on the next one. And what I wish I would have done on that one, I'm going to do on this one. Knowing that when I'm doing this one, when this project is done, I'm probably going to go, I should have, I'll do it to the next one. And I'll be honest with you, Triple T, every week, right around Wednesday afternoon, I'm like, I forgot to, I should have, it would have been great if I'd have. And so I put little notes in here. And then there are times when it's Monday afternoon, Tuesday morning, and I'm going, it's Tuesday. What am I going to talk about?
And actually, it's, sorry to jump in, but you've just inspired me now that it's also the balance between not over-structuring so you can flow, and structuring so that you get the perfection. Where's the balance? If you're too structured, you miss the flow and the inspiration. So it is a balancing act. If you hold on to it too tight, you lose the flow, you lose the inspiration, you lose the magic. So, it's just the balancing act. Exactly. And sometimes over planning before the event isn't the best. So how do you do it when you're going, it's Tuesday?
I'm going to give you a quick analogy, and then Lenora's got her hand up, but do you know the difference between cooking and baking? Here's, and I know I touched on this before. My wife, incredible baker, but she's a rule follower. I mean, if it says 7 grams of X ingredient, it's 7, not 7.1, not 6.9, it's 7.0 grams. I'm a cook. I look at a recipe and I go, that's a good suggestion. And I start putting stuff together, and I rarely measure. Drives her insane. What you're doing isn't baking. We don't have a recipe that we get to follow for our creations. Ours, what we do is art. And there will always be a dish that you wish you would have, this would have been good with a little more salt. Or, I could have added a little bit more. But in the end, did you, straight out of Dr. David, did you get the result you were looking for? Yeah, but I forgot step number 4. Did you get the result you were looking for? Yes, but I forgot step number 3. Did you get the result you were looking for? It doesn't matter if you somewhere along the line grabbed a toy rubber chicken and waved it around a few times if the person got the result you were looking for. And stop typing, no rubber chickens were hurt in the whole experience. Don't want to hear about it. What I'm letting you know is you're not building a skyscraper, and you're not doing, it's not that we're not doing rocket science. We're sending people to the moon and through the universe without something that has to have step by step by step micro precision. The one thing about step by step micro precision, it works or it doesn't. With what we do the best we can at the time with the tools, knowledge, and energy we have available to us. And more often than not, the rocket makes it through the universe, and we realize that we forgot that tank of fuel over there that we could have added to it. And Lenora, take over, because I could talk all night.
Are you in a rocket?
Yes.
I love the conversation here, guys. Like, it's so good. Oh my gosh. Short of having like tea and cookies right now to like make it any more enjoyable, I don't think anything else could make it more enjoyable for me. Fran, you mentioned a couple of things, so I'm going to kind of swirl around here. When the voice of it is a perfection or chasing perfection, or it's not good enough, possibly one of the things I thought about was I talk to that part, and I will have a full-on conversation. Okay, well, what do you want? What are you trying to tell me? Whether I write it down or I'm just saying it literally like out loud to myself, because there is a point to it. And I don't want to be like, always, it depends. You got to listen to which one it is. Sometimes they do need to be told to shut the up. Other times, okay, what else do we need to talk about? And literally have that conversation of, well, is this even true? Where did you even get this information? Is this accurate? Was it perfect? Other, like, if for I was thinking about the recordings, if I was focused on, yes, I would love for the recordings that I'm doing to be absolutely epic and amazing. The first thing I needed to do was actually sit down and do it. And I procrastinated it for weeks on end because I was it's not going to be perfect. And I was just like, I'm to the point where now it's like, you have to do it. Like, and end of story. What do they say? Boots on the ground, like, get your butt moving. One thing that I also really liked was, I know you mentioned about recording yourself, and for the variety of things that I do, I tend to have to record myself quite a bit. What I thought might be helpful would be to record yourself just for you. What did I like today? And literally talk to yourself, but from that goddess channel, or from that queen channel, or from that kind channel of saying, I'm really proud that I did that today. And it's only for you. And you can replay it if you want, or you can go back and watch it, a week later and be like, you know what, I am really proud of that. And how you're saying it to that part, because not every ranting, raving, perfection should have been better thought needs my attention, but this does need my attention. And I think one of the things that I really didn't understand early on about self-care and about self-love was taking care to talk to yourself in a loving way. Yes, it might be tough love sometimes, like, Lenora, get your stuff together and start doing your recordings. I love you, but do it. And other times I need to be a little bit more gentle because I'm so out here. And it just is finding that balance. And I don't think people really understand the importance. I shouldn't say people, I should say, I don't think it was conveyed when I was learning these things, the importance of what that actually looks like, and what does it look like for me, or what does it look like for somebody else. So somebody else might not need that, and that works great for them. If not, I might need that part. And those are some of the tools in the toolbox.
Fantastic. Thank you. That was absolutely brilliant. I needed to hear that as well. And I'm sure it's not just me that needed to hear that. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Not just her. So, okay, if I jump in again, I know I've been talking a lot, but this whole conversation brought up a couple, I'd completely even forgotten about this. But when I was playing the organ for my church for a lot, I had so much anxiety. And after every single performance, I'd come home and think about all the mistakes I'd made. And oh gosh, I could have done that better if only I'd taken more time during the week to practice and, all this other stuff. But, and I mean, this comes from also teaching. It comes from hypnosis sessions, from all of this. I mean, first of all, as we've already, I think it's very out there, but an imperfect something is better than a perfect nothing. And so many times, like I will be in a group in David's class and I really need somebody to work on me. And people are so intimidated because they know how many trainings I've been through. And I'm just like, no, the fact that you were willing to work with me, it's better than me working on myself. And the fact that, I don't care that you don't have as many trainings as I do. And another thing that came up is, so this is just kind of this thought of God, source, and some people may not resonate with this, that's totally fine. But I believe that that energy is capable, whether it's the perfect hypnosis session or the perfect organ playing or the perfect talk, whatever it may be, source is capable of giving the perfect performance, the perfect product, and doesn't choose to do that. Instead, flawed human beings give imperfect performances. And if that's true, an imperfect performance, an imperfect product, there must be something about that that's better, that is more beautiful than the perfect. And so that's kind of what I would say. And then the final thing too is sometimes after a talk or after, an organ performance that nobody even heard that mistake that I thought was so glaringly obvious to me or whatever the case may be, sometimes what I thought was the biggest mistake I did was the thing that resonated with somebody the most. And so the reason it happened was because source was working through me to send it to them. And so who am I to judge the performance I did? So if I did the best I could and I allowed myself to be in tune with source, I just say, this is my gift to the world. And if it's good enough, if source said that's what I'm going to allow you to create, then I'm going to trust that, yes, this is good enough and right for the situation. And I'm not going to be arrogant enough to stand up and say, not good enough. That's just arrogance, because I'm judging what source allowed me to create. I'm judging what source gave me to create it. And if I know I did the best, and once again, I don't think we always have to be, the best isn't I killed myself. The best is I, as a flawed individual who occasionally needs time off and who occasionally doesn't want to do 40 takes, only wants to do maybe one take or, whatever is appropriate. With what I have and who I am, this is good enough for the people I was supposed to serve with it.
That is so perfect and so brilliant. And it's kind of like evolution. I mean, the process of evolution starts with a genetic mistake. And how are we going to evolve and develop if we don't have mistakes? How do we know? There is no progress without mistakes. Thinking of music, the best piece of music I have ever heard was in a village band in Spain. And the music was a little bit out of rhythm and a little bit out of tune, but it was played with absolute essence of life and joy. And that was the best music I have ever heard because of the spirit that was coming through that music. So, why deny mistakes? I think I've just got something that I need to listen to there. Thank you, Holly.
It's funny, the best performance I ever heard, we'd been practicing forever as a choir, and they said, we're going to have the special needs choir sing before you. And the spirit they sang with, we got done and we're like, we can't even perform after that. Like, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And we all, again, we're all probably on the same wavelength throughout the universe right now, because I had 3 other examples just like that. And one of them is, see this big old camera back here? That was the big medium format film camera that I had for my studio, and then digital came along. And the funny thing was, people after a while didn't like the digital photos. You know why? They were too sharp. They were too perfect. They didn't have the grain. They had to come up with a Photoshop overlay to give it, and all of a sudden you could get Kodak 400 speed film overlay to give it a graininess to make it look like the older photos. Right there is a turntable. Do you know why people are still going back to the turntable? So they can hear the little pops and noises and the warmth that comes from that. That's why right over there on my wall it says, instead of perfection, pursue excellence. Perfection doesn't exist. Excellence can be built on over and over and over. I did the best I could and it was excellent. And when I add this extra little ingredient, it's even more excellent. And then when I do it this way, it's even more excellent. But I will never run out of the ability to make things more excellent. But if I do something and it's perfect, all it takes is one question to make it not perfect anymore. Well, what if you did it a little faster? Wouldn't that have been more perfect? Well, what if you did it this way? Well, wouldn't that have been more perfect? And all of a sudden then we go back to should have. I should have. Shouldn't have.
And what about stage fright? Where is that good? Where is that not good? Where does it increase the flow? Where does it impede the flow?
Stage fright is anxiety, which is the same energy as excitement and fear. I've taught on this many, many times. So the best thing to do with that in stage fright is to tell yourself how excited you are to be able to do this. The energy doesn't diminish, it converts. And for those of you watching the replay on this who aren't familiar with my anxiety, fear, excitement protocol, I'm not going to go real in depth into it, but they're the same wavelength of energy. It's just the transference of it. The one of the metaphors that I use on that is roller coasters, because you have, on a scale of 1 to 10, the ones are the people that absolutely think roller coasters are the biggest waste of time. They are boring. You stand in line, you get in a little bucket, and for 30 seconds, you go, woo, whatever, nobody dies, whatever. And the 10s are the people that can't even stand to watch it on television. They get hives, they're scared, they sweat, everything. The anxiety level is too much. Now, on that scale, who has the most fun on a roller coaster? Take a guess, Fran. Between 1 and 10, what numbers have the most fun?
Well, I've got very mixed views about this because I have to keep stopping movies because I have to calm myself down before I can cope with the next bit. But I think probably going up to a 9 or a 10 is a bit too much, but a little bit below that is really good.
Yeah, the people that are in that 6.5 to 8 zone are the ones that have the most fun, because right in that 6.5, 7, there's still enough fear to convert to excitement. It's like, oh, here we go, oh my God, do I hang on? What, am I gonna put my hands up? I don't know. And they have the most fun. The 9s and the 10s are like, did it latch all the way? Oh my God, are we okay? I'm gonna die! And they're the ones that pass out. They're the ones that wet themselves. They're the ones that are crying when it's over, because they're just thankful that they didn't die. But you have to pry their hands off of the bar so that they can try and walk away. Stage fright is the same thing. Anxiety is a fear that you don't have a basis to. I've dealt with in all my years of being an audio tech, I've had to hand microphones to more people with stage fright than you can imagine. Weddings, got to do the speech, scared to death. I mean, literally about to turn white. And I tell them, get excited about it. Don't speak to everybody. Speak to your best friend. Pick 5 people out of the room, 5, and strategically place them in places around the room. And it doesn't matter if there's 10 people or 10,000 people, you are only talking to those 5. And make them people that you can talk to about anything. Mom, dad, best friend, sibling, whatever. And the reason you place them around is while you're talking, you look at them. That one, number 2, number 4, number 1, 5, 3, and you just talk to them. The fact that the other people are listening in, that's their problem. And even the same when you're doing a private recording and you're the only one in front of the mic, put your best friend or the person who needs to hear that message the most on the other side of the microphone. Don't talk to the microphone. The microphone is there to record it. Talk to the other person who is right there and put your heart into it the way that you would if they couldn't respond.
That is so perfect, TJ, because I have just had an aha moment that how I deliver is exactly that point. If I am delivering to people that I think are better than me or that will judge me more, I'm rubbish. And if I'm talking to people who I know are fascinated and right in on the subject, I flow. And that is a big component for me. So I'm definitely going to need to use those words of wisdom. Thank you.
I would love to take credit for that, but that was given to me in high school by my rich dad, because I had to do a talk. And I don't think it was high school, I think it was middle school. And I knew that I was going to have to do a presentation for something. And that's what he told me. He goes, don't talk to everybody. Only talk to your best friend. Screw the rest of them. They're just listening in. They're just eavesdropping in your conversation, and that's fine. And I'll be darned. I got up there and of course I was, young and laser focused on one person. Like, woo, I'm done. Oh shit, everybody's here. But then it later evolved into pick people out around in different locations. And the people that you think are above you that are judging, what gives them the right to judge you anyway? It's not for them. It's for the person who needs to hear the message.
One quick thing, Fran, that I am noticing, one thing that I do love to notice is that other people are human too. and they have vulnerability, they have insecurities, they have fears and worries and doubts. And when we have this perception and we project what they're like onto them, I think they're better than me. They have insecurities too. They have so many things. And if you watch celebrities during interviews, when they are asked certain questions, you will see that vulnerability. You'll see that very human component. And you're like, oh my gosh, these people that I thought were, had confidence beyond the stars, they have that human component too, of what if I'm not good enough, or what if it wasn't good enough, my performance wasn't good enough. So when you're thinking that you're not good enough, when you're looking out and you're saying, oh, what do they think of this? They're not thinking that at all. They're seeing what we're also seeing, but we just happen to be saying it, and it happens to resonate differently.
And when you see the vulnerability in people you really admire, you see the humanness, and it gives you hope and inspiration, actually, that if they can do that and they're that terrified, well, what's stopping me?
Completely.
So it is inspirational.
Yes, very much so.
Cool.
I also saw a really cool meme yesterday or the day before, and it said, if you could hear people's thoughts, it would completely change the way you see yourself, because you would realize how little time they spend thinking about you. Here we spend all this time thinking, oh my God, they think I'm this, they think I'm that, oh my God. And then you realize they weren't thinking about you at all. In fact, you would probably be more surprised at the people that think really good things about you. You just set them so high on a pedestal that A, they didn't know you put them up there. B, they don't believe they deserve to be up there. And C, they put you on the same high pedestal that you didn't think you deserved to be on.
That's all so cool and so useful. Before we end out, could I ask Holly and TJ to give a bit of a further in-depth rundown on that stop protocol? Holly, you were just amazing. Can you share a bit more, and also perhaps other people too?
I mean, obviously the reason I knew it is because TJ taught it to me. One quick thing I'll say, since I'm talking anyway. You could take what I just said about the hypnosis recordings and throw it to your message too. If you stop thinking of it as your message and say, hey, I've been called to give this message. If you want to judge it, go ahead and judge it. It's not mine. But yes, so stop, start. Basically, if there's, and I know TJ can talk about Tina using it, if somebody's doing something that you need them to stop immediately, first of all, with this protocol, the key is getting into state. And so David would probably call it master and commander, but it's just, I know this person is going to do whatever I tell them to do. And you tell them stop, because the mind reacts. We've all been trained. As soon as you hear stop, you've got to stop, right? That's for safety. So you say stop, and then tell them to stop doing whatever it is they're doing. And then say start, tell them what you'd like them to do instead. And then at the end, put the word now. Yeah. So if a creepy guy is following you and you don't want him to follow you anymore, you turn around, get into master and commander, and you say, stop following me and turn and start walking the other direction now. And they do it.
And the stop has to be a strong, direct command. It has to be a smack right to their face. It's not stop, it's stop. Start listening to what I'm saying and do it now. And my favorite story about that was my wife had just learned that protocol, and she was city manager, and one of the town citizens who was a royal pain in the keister and thought the rules didn't apply to her, but was an amazing actress, demanded that she have a meeting with my wife and the town mayor. And she showed up and put on a stellar performance. Tears were flowing and emotions were emoting. And right in the middle of it, my wife goes, "Stop. Start listening to what we're trying to tell you and realize that we're on the same page and you need to start following the rules now." And the lady's like, whoop, tears stopped just like that. She was like, okay. And my wife looked at the mayor and said, "And I think you can go back to your office." And he was like, okay. He got up and walked out. And my wife had a very civil conversation with the actress. She realized that she was definitely trying to break the rules, but the rules were in place for a very specific reason. And she agreed to the terms, got up, walked out of the office, to where everybody in the office was like, watched her leave. The mayor comes in and goes, "We were actually waiting for her to come flying through the door or hear, what did you do?" My wife was like, "I just something I learned a couple of days ago. She'll be fine." And went back in her office. And apparently when I talked to the mayor, he was like, no, we were all out in the office going, she's going to kill her. That's going to be it. She'll be dead. We're just going to have to call an ambulance. And that's the power inside of Stop, Start Now. And when used effectively, it works really well. Another way that I use it, and I know I'm going over time, apologize, is when you've got people that are ramblers, and you can't get a word in edgewise. A fun little trick that I've taught a few of my clients who have brought this up, I said, look at them and go, "Stop. Start telling me again about that thing that you were talking about a couple of topics ago now." And the problem is the ramblers don't keep track of what they're talking. They're just spewing information because they love to hear their voice. And they'll be like, what? You know what you were talking about? I love what you're talking about, but you go through so many things so fast, I can't even get a word in edgewise. And I can't remember what you said. You talk so fast. I just knew that I wanted to hear more about it. Well, okay, well, I guess we'll have to try and remember it next time. I gotta go. So, any questions on that, Fran? Because it is a very effective protocol.
That is just bloody brilliant. So thank you. And also the rambling application, because I definitely will be using that. That's so cool.
I've used it a number of times. It is such a great interrupt on ramblers. The look on their face, priceless. Because they're like, what? What was I talking about? I don't know. You talk so fast, I couldn't even get a word in edgewise. I just know that it was interesting, and then you went on to 5 other topics, and now I can't remember it. How sad. Anyhow, I got to go. And that brings us to rambling right up to the 8 o'clock hour, where I promise to respect everybody's time and attention. thank you so much for coming along on another tour on Triple T with myself and all of our fine guests here. Don't forget to click the subscribe button and ring the bell. Please leave comments. I'm insecure like other people sometimes and love to know that my word is getting out there. Share this with as many people as you can. And if you don't mind, even if you're on Facebook, put some comments underneath my postings so that the other people can see that I actually have people showing up. Right. Secrets out. Love you all. Hopefully we'll see each other in 7. Bye now.
Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Night. Thank you. Awesome episode.